Cool. I am live by myself right now, apparently. Well, anyway, the Boston Celtics. I don't know where Justin, Ian, or Rob. Well, Rob's at the game. I'm sure he had a fantastic time tonight because the Celtics tonight, 124, or sorry, 123. Let me get the official score here. I never know the score. 123 to 104. Celtics fall to the Brooklyn Nets. It was an all-out beating. It was an all-out take them behind the woodshed and beat them type of game. The Celtics, outside of the little momentum they had in the fourth quarter, never really got it going tonight at all. Even in the fourth quarter, a lot of that momentum seemed like it was more of the Nets faltering and the crowd getting into the game rather than the Celtics actually making it a good contest. But tonight, I mean, the Nets they didn't really need to destroy us because their role players destroyed us. I should say Kevin Durant and James Harden didn't need to destroy us tonight because you look at the box score. James Harden, Kevin Durant. Kevin Durant goes for 21 points. James Harden only goes for 20, but he has 11 assists, so he hit the over tonight. And Ian is really small on my screen right now.
I don't know what
There we
happened.
go. There we go.
Hey, what's up? Yeah, yeah, that was rough. That was rough.
Yeah, and just to finish my point here before we really dive deep into this game, Marcus Aldridge, a guy I said we needed to attack tonight, didn't really do that at all, and he scored 17 on us. I believe he had a 40-point game against us with the Spurs a couple of years ago, if I'm not mistaken. And then Patty Mills tonight, 7 of 10 from beyond the arc, 23 points tonight. Patty Mills was absolutely insane, and he's a Celtics killer. He's a notable Celtics killer in the past, and Celtics just left him wide open opportunities tonight. I think if Joe Harris, Kyrie, Nicholas Claxton, Bruce Brown play tonight, oh man, this result would have been it would have been disappointing. Even more disappointing. It's already disappointing, but man, I mean, the Nets. This was, it was disappointing despite the injuries. I would say.
Yeah, they kind of smacked us tonight. I mean, at least the Celtics played a little bit of energy in the fourth quarter, but it really didn't help them shooting 37% from the field and 23% from three for the game. That it didn't really matter how much energy you played with to end the game. You weren't going to make up for shooting that terribly the entire game.
Yeah, and even even going further tonight, what did I said this earlier on one of my posts, but we kind of touched on this a little bit in the pregame too. Is the Celtics need to dominate the paint tonight? They needed to use their size tonight. And they kind of did down the stretch. They brought in Jabari Parker, and he was kind of a person we didn't talk about pregame, but we should have. And even I would say the Celtics coaching staff probably should have talked about him pregame as well because he was inserted into that fourth quarter. I mean, what can you say about Jabari Parker and the fact that against this Nets team, he's an actual playable player because you can hide his defensive mishaps against this Nets team. This Nets team goes isolation a lot. As long as you're not switching on the perimeter with Jabari Parker at the top of the key, as long as you're not getting him into those situations, he's fine to be out there. And the Celtics, that's where they needed to use some of their bench and some of their size tonight because points in the paint, 40 to 38 tonight. Not exactly the biggest margin in the world. A 2-point margin that's really nothing. Then the rebounding battle, they won 59 to 50 tonight, and that was a big thing early. I thought the Celtics weren't grabbing any rebounds whatsoever, and that doesn't help their cause, especially when, like you said, they're shooting at such a low percentage, and especially early in the game when they were shooting at a low percentage. I mean, it was just a combination of we're not dominating the paint. Our guys, we probably didn't have the right personnel out there for most of the night. Some of that has to do with the fact that Robert Williams and Josh Richardson was out. And I would like to see this Nets Celtics matchup with everyone in, but the Celtics, it was just a combination of multiple areas of the game tonight that really just had this whole thing fall apart on them.
Yeah, and I mean, I think the worst part about this game was it was a winnable game. You know, Kevin Durant and James Harden weren't playing amazing. Now, Kevin Durant finished really well, and James Harden was okay, but James Harden did not do very well offensively in this game. And it felt like the Celtics had a chance. They had a chance. But at the same time, it was they just kept shooting themselves in the foot, it felt like. Anytime they got on a run, whether it was the first quarter, second quarter, and the third into the fourth quarter run. Anytime they got a chance to maybe cut it down to something, they would do something stupid, which would lead to them, getting a foul and the Brooklyn having the ball and Brooklyn going on their own run. So this was a perfectly winnable game for the Celtics. The biggest problem was they could not hit anything, and it was really annoying. And I don't know. I mean, there's really not much you can say about this game outside of they just were terrible. And honestly, they kind of deserved to lose this game with the way they were shooting.
Yeah, and I think there are a couple of positives to take away from this game, but like you said, the shooting, 22.9% from three tonight, 11 of 48. I mean, that's really just, I have the show with my father on the Relevant app, and everybody go check that out, by the way, NBA Fanatics, shameless plug. But we talked about teams continuously shooting themselves out of games, and that's exactly what the Celtics did again tonight. They've done it a couple times this season, but 48 three-pointers attempted tonight, and you only hit 11. At some point, you need to take it to the basket. You need to be physical, and that's really something the Celtics, I thought, lacked a lot tonight. Is they did have some open looks on the perimeter tonight, but I thought they lacked physicality in both driving to the rim at times and on the defensive end of the floor. The Brooklyn Nets, they had such an easy time getting to the paint, creating out of that. And the Celtics, I would like to see it with everybody in, because I think Robert Williams and Josh Richardson add a whole new dynamic to this game. And so does Bruce Brown, Joe Harris, Nicholas Claxton. If they were in this game too, I'm interested to see how it would go, because I think all of those losses were huge for both teams. And the Nets, they clearly took advantage of the personnel they had out there, while we kind of sat in the back. And, at times, I don't want to say, I thought this team gave enough effort tonight, but, this is a game you have to come in and attack early. And then when you're down after halftime by 13, you have to attack in the third quarter. And both times, both at the beginning of the game, beginning of the third quarter, which was huge, they didn't show up. And that's just not something that can happen against a team like this Brooklyn Nets team.
Yeah, and I mean, Ime Udoka just came out and said he told the group it was a good homestand, but it could have been a great one. And honestly, It could have been. And we've talked about this all season long, where Robert Williams is our defensive anchor. When he's out there, this team is so much different defensively than when he's not. And we have to get him healthy as soon as possible, because this is going to be a rough stretch if Robert Williams misses a lot of time, because he is so important to this defensive team. And there were times where it didn't matter who was in the paint. It was either Bembry or James Johnson, Kevin Durant or James Harden. All they had to do was throw it into the paint. No one was covering them, and they would just get easy layups in the paint, which was the other reason why that fourth quarter comeback was just as bad, outside of them missing wide open shots, which, my key to the game, which is a constant that still has to be the key to the game, because they shoot themselves out of the game. But it's just, we are such a better team than this. I know we've won 8 of our last 3. We've been 8-3 in our last 11. Yeah. We won 3 in a row. We looked like a good team, but the thing is, we can be a better team. And it's just frustrating to think that, and I'm not going to lie to you, Jaylen Brown did not look good tonight. He did not look healthy at all. He was limping most of the game. I don't even really know why he played tonight. I would have 100% been for him just sitting out this game, because even when he was in there, he didn't do much to help us, really. He was a step behind everyone all night, it felt like. And I don't want to shit on Jaylen Brown because he is injured, but at the same time, I do not think he should have played tonight. And it showed, man. And I mean, Schroeder didn't have a great game, really. Smart had a good third to fourth quarter, and he played some good defense, but outside of that, he wasn't really amazing. It felt like, yeah, he had some good shooting splits, but it just didn't feel like he did much out there. And overall, I never want to blame the refs for a game, but Lord, were the referees terrible in this game for both teams. But I mean, the refs being bad doesn't excuse the fact the Celtics shot, 37.4% from the field and 22.9% from three. But
Exactly.
yeah,
And you mentioned Jaylen Brown in there, and I sent out that post pregame, and I was like, he's not healthy. If he's playing 24 minutes the other night, and he's saying something about tightness, and he looks visibly behind out there, and then they're listing him as questionable for tonight, and then day to day as they move on, he's clearly not healthy. And this was further evidence tonight. I wouldn't be surprised if he doesn't play on Friday, because tonight, like you said, he looked like he was limping some of the time off ball. He was really, I had it in my notes. It looked like he was playing the Shimmy Ojale role of, hey, dude, just go stand in the corner and do nothing. And like the Celtics offense just had too much of that tonight. And Jaylen Brown, too, 5 of 15 tonight, 0 of 8 from 3. That's just not going to get the job done. And that's not really, I'm not blaming him necessarily for that. I don't think he's all the way healthy and should be playing out here. And we've talked about this hamstring issue many, many times. And the hamstring, it's one of those areas of the body where if you just rest it, it feels great when you're down and sitting down and resting. But when you go to explode or go to cut or, go to do whatever on it, to run on it, it's not going to respond in the same way, or you don't know how it's going to respond. And right now, Jaylen Brown, if he's complaining about tightness, complaining about, a little bit of pain in that hamstring, I don't think he should be playing out there at all, because we have 62 more games left this season. If he continues playing, that hamstring issue is not going to get better. It's only going to get worse. And come playoff time, we don't want to have Jaylen Brown be out for the season because of a hamstring tear, or, he needs, significant period of rest to rest up his hamstring. We want him to rest now early in the season and then progress moving forward. I know it's tough now because this team wants to gain cohesion, but it's ultimately a sacrifice that you have to make moving forward, because you have to look at the long-term picture of this season and even next year and in the year after that. You want Jaylen Brown as healthy as he can be. You don't want to put mileage on his body when right now the stakes are not as high as later. And I don't know. It's very confusing what direction they're using with this. I know he wants to play. I know he wants to make an impact, but at the end of the day, the training staff and the team have to go. You just have to sit longer. That's just what it has to be.
Yep. And I mean, well, breaking news: the Houston Rockets actually won a game. So
I saw.
Congratulations to the Houston Rockets for winning a game.
The Pelicans were defeating the Wizards as well, and they're going to end up coming out with that win. So wow, crazy night in the NBA. Who did the Rockets beat again? They beat the Chicago Bulls. Whoa.
Damn.
Okay, who didn't play?
The Bulls lost to the Pacers, and then they lost to the Rockets. I don't even know who was playing, but I mean that makes it feel a little better. I'm not gonna lie to you. It makes me feel a little happier that the Bulls lost to the Pacers and the Rockets. It's
not like they played bad either. Some of the guys. This is Celtics post game, but we're now on to the Bulls.
Well, I mean, there's really not much more to talk about the Celtics anyway. I'm just playing. There's plenty to talk about the Celtics, but I have a question for you, Seamus. Now, I kind of had a realization halfway through the game, especially in the third quarter, that I'm really not going to lie to you. I don't think this game matters as much as we want to think it does. Now, if the Celtics won this game, maybe it would have been a little different, but with the Celtics losing Robert Williams, not having Josh Richardson and Robert Williams, not having 100% healthy Jaylen Brown, the Nets not being 100% healthy either. I mean, I'm not going to lie to you. I don't take as much stock into this game as much as I thought I was going to.
Yeah, and I said it earlier. I was like, I want to see more. I want to see this matchup again, and we're going to see it 3 more times throughout the season, unfortunately, or fortunately for us. I want to see everybody in the lineup, and I want to see a 100% healthy Jaylen Brown in the lineup too. And I would say this loss is still disappointing in the sense that.
Sorry, Seamus. Breaking news. We have Rob Haytan on the phone here. Rob,
okay, here we go.
What? Tell me your thoughts about the game live from the Garden.
It was pretty bad. I mean, we didn't really come out and play a good stretch of basketball throughout the entire 48 minutes. I felt like we came out flat. Tatum looked awful. I was listening in. Brown does not look healthy. I don't know if this is going to be a thing where we're going to see him, if this is going to be a week-to-week thing where he just looks a little off. I think he'd use a little time to rest. I was definitely on the train to play him tonight, but he didn't help us in a big enough impact for it to really matter. I mean, I think it hurt us to play him more than it helped us. Tatum kind of had another one of those zone out and do the Jason Tatum, I don't even know what to call it anymore. It was a bad game. I think it hurts a little more that we just lost, especially with Chicago losing tonight and Washington. That would have put us a game back out of third place with two easy wins against Toronto and San Antonio coming up. So I think that stings a little bit more. But I think this game, it wasn't a loss where you sit down and you say, it's tough because no Robert Williams, no Josh Richardson, an unhealthy Jaylen Brown, and we couldn't knock down a shot to save our lives. So it was not ideal by any means, but we played I think a strong 48 minutes in the terms where we fought hard. I thought there was a certain group: Langford, Smart, Cantor. Jabari played a good stretch, Schroeder, where they kind of were really into it. I think more so than maybe Horford, Brown, and Tatum. They didn't really seem too, into making a strong comeback. And I think, we made a couple decent pushes. But other than that, I mean, what are we on to? So San Antonio, or is it Toronto next?
San Antonio on Friday.
Yeah. San Antonio, Rob.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we're on to San Antonio. You got to come in. You got to finish out November strong, especially with a tough December coming up. But, it happens a long season. We've been playing, too good of basketball to let this one set us back too much, and we can't overreact, I don't think.
All right, cool. Any final thoughts, Rob?
No, that's it, guys. See you next time.
See you later, Rob. Have a good one.
So that was a good take by Rob there.
Definitely.
Such a good job coming from the game like that.
I know. Well, he was right there, so he was live to see it. But I mean, Rob has a really good point. I mean, the Celtics have been playing way too good at basketball to really let this win affect them too much in a way. Where, there's only so much you can do when it's Jaylen Brown being injured and having Kevin Durant and James Harden on the other side. So it was a tough one. Man, what else do we have to talk about this game? Because I'm thinking we go into the over-under soon.
Well, yeah, we have to go an over-under soon, but I think there is somewhat of a silver lining to this game, even though it was a disappointing loss. Because it's disappointing in the sense that I felt like our personnel missing versus their personnel missing. We had a clear advantage. Like, if we would have had Joe.
Uh-oh. Well, Seamus is out of the picture, but how you doing, everybody? It's just me now, so how are you all doing tonight? It was a rough one. It was a rough one. Rough time all around. Let's see. Maybe we can get Justin on FaceTime here. He's been having technical difficulties of his own here. We'll see if we can get Justin's take on the game. Honestly, in my opinion, I don't think I'm going to take as much stock as I think. All right, so now we have Justin on the phone here. Justin, what are your thoughts tonight?
I thought the Celtics came out flat, which is, we talked about this in the key to the game, kind of every game, is the Celtics come out flat. And you can't afford to come out flat against these teams like the Brooklyn Nets, and the Celtics got off to a bad start against the Lakers. We've seen it before. And we've seen the late comebacks, and we've seen the phenomenal second halves, but that just doesn't add up, because at the end of the game, if the Celtics end up on the losing end of that, no matter what the comeback was, it's still a loss in the loss column. And I think the effort from the tip wasn't there. I think they were a little bit caught off guard in a way. I don't know how you can kind of put it, But these slow starts are what really hurt the Celtics, Ian, and it's kind of hurt them all season. We saw it against the Dallas Mavericks just a week or two ago, where they lost by 3 at the buzzer, but they ultimately kind of scraped back into the game, and then they let go in the final minutes again. And that was kind of what it was tonight. The Celtics made a 17-0 run to start the fourth quarter, but as you could tell, Celtics still lost by 21.
Yeah, tough game. And I mean, any final thoughts, Justin?
No, you guys are killing it. You guys are doing really good. I don't know what's going on. The camera freezes every second. For some reason, I can't hear Ian. It's all a bunch of technical difficulties. But Ian and Seamus gonna, give you their thoughts on tonight's game, and then we're right back at it. All 4 of us to bring you Celtics basketball, bring you Celtics content. What is it? Is it Friday?
Yes,
the Spurs,
Friday
right?
against San Antonio.
Coverage starts at 8 p.m. All 4 of us should be here bearing any technical difficulties. But, hey, look, San Antonio, they're not off to the best start, guys, but we know that Greg Popovich has some young, gritty guys. And, Ime Udoka facing another one of his former coaching staff. So we'll see how he does against the Spurs on Friday. Again, don't take your opponent for granted. Do what you did against the Rockets and Thunder. Those were 2 games you absolutely needed to win on this homestand. The Celtics going to Thanksgiving dinner tomorrow, 3-1 at home on this 4-game homestand. You couldn't ask for anything better. Obviously, a 4-0 would be awesome, but you didn't get that. 3-1, you'll take it and move on. Building blocks.
Yep, definitely. Thank you, Justin.
All right, folks, take care.
See ya. All right, so before I want to talk about one more thing before we get into over-unders. So let's talk a little bit about the Spurs game, because I'm not going to lie to you. It feels like, normally the Spurs don't get talked about a lot anyway. But, they have some really good pieces in San Antonio. DeJounte Murray is turning it on, and I know firsthand because he's on my fantasy team, so shout out to DeJounte Murray. And Keldon Johnson is really nice. Like, what do the Celtics need to do to get a win over the San Antonio Spurs?
Well, I think Justin said it best when he said, don't play down your opponent, because the San Antonio team, although they're, 4-12 now, or they might be 4-13 after tonight, the San Antonio team, for as bad as they are, they still have veteran pieces on this team, and they're still coached by none other than Greg Popovich. So you cannot let this game, and I think tonight, too, this is kind of something that went under the radar tonight. Ime Udoka was facing his former team, his team last year. I thought maybe coming into the game that might be an advantage for us, knowing that better. But apparently now the Nets know us better with Ime Udoka at the helm of our team. And that could happen again in San Antonio, because Ime Udoka is bred from the Greg Popovich tree. So this is going to be I think a probably closer game than some may expect on Friday night. I don't expect us to go in San Antonio. I know they're bad. I know they're 4 and like I said, I think they're 4-13 after tonight. I know they're bad, but I don't expect the Celtics to go in there and absolutely whoop them. I expect the Spurs to fight the entire night. I expect that they're going to probably, they have the Celtics killer, Thad Young. I would call DeJounte Murray a Celtics killer in a sense, and Jakob as well, down low. If we don't have Robert Williams on Friday night, who knows how that matchup's going to go. Now, Robert Williams out with an illness tonight. Hopefully he's better on Friday, but the Spurs team, they have guys who can get out and defend. Keldon Johnson, Devin Vassell, Lonnie Walker, all those dudes are super versatile, can defend on. And against the Spurs on Friday, the Celtics, they have to bring their A game, because they have to rebound from tonight's matchup. If you let this bleed like Celtics teams have done before, aka the 2018-19 team, where you just let one loss get under your skin and let it bleed forever, that's when you start seeing things fall apart. And right now, the Celtics, they've played some pretty good basketball. They were 8-3 in their last 11 coming into the night. They were 3-0 during the 4-game homestand until tonight. Now they're 3-1. They're playing some good basketball, but they have to salvage this. They can't fall back down to 500. That'll be demoralizing, especially when you could have won tonight's game in 3 games over 500. So Friday night, they have to come to play. especially on the road, especially against the San Antonio team who's not just going to roll over and accept a loss.
Definitely. I agree. And honestly, I kind of really like the San Antonio team, even though they are 4-12. I mean, they play Greg Popovich style of basketball, and we've seen in the past that it doesn't matter who's playing for the Spurs. Greg Popovich basketball can completely destroy the Celtics. Although I will say the last time the Celtics played the Spurs, Jason Tatum dropped 63 in one of the best games I've ever seen. So, Let's finally get into over-unders now. And I can't remember everything, but I'm going to do my best. So first over-under was Jaylen Brown over-under 18 points in this game. Jaylen Brown did not get 18 points in this game.
13.
He ended with 13, which was close, but sadly, he did not get 18 points. I think we all said over, so
this kind of played out
the L on
exactly
that
how
one.
expected with the scoring, though.
We really did, honestly. That's kind of funny.
I know we said like Grant Williams and others, but it ended up being Patty Mills, LaMarcus Aldridge, Marcus Smart scored 20. They ended up being your top three leading scorers. LaMarcus Aldridge wasn't a top three leading scorer. Durant was in there, but Durant only scored 21. Harden only 20. I mean, it was kind of Tatum had 15. That's exactly what we said before coming into the game. It was like, yeah, we think these guys are going to go for 40, but it could end in where they go for 15, 20 points. That's exactly what happened tonight. No. But anyway.
That is kind of funny how we kind of called that.
We denied the under. Sorry.
Alrighty, so. Oh, wait, you took the under? No, I thought you took the over. I thought we all took over on that one.
No, I said I guess I meant to say we missed the under. That's what I meant to say.
Oh, yeah, my bad. So,
correct, yes.
Next one, we had double parlay. Jason Tatum and Kevin Durant both had to get over 7.5 rebounds. Jason Tatum did his part of the job. He got 8 rebounds, and sadly, Kevin Durant only got 4. So,
yeah,
that was a tough L. He did have 8 assists.
That being
He
said,
did have 8 assists.
We did hit one on assist though. James Harden.
We did hit one on assist. Now the third one, it was James Harden over under 8 assists. James Harden ended the night with 11. Now, me and you both said over on that one. Justin actually said under on the James Harden, and if he tries to prove me wrong, I have the text saying that he did say under. So we both get a point for that one.
I believe it's on film too, because we discussed it.
It is on film. He did have it. He did have it circling. Yeah. So, all right, and then the final one, we did have a fourth one because it was a national TV game. We did say over under. Jason Tatum outscoring Kevin Durant tonight. The over was yes. The under was no. True, Justin, you did have a good point. But anyway, we all said over on Jason Tatum outscoring Kevin Durant. We all were kind of a little too biased on that one. And Kevin Durant kind of washed Tatum, but not too bad. It was only 21-15, which, I mean, it could have been a lot worse. Kevin Durant looked like he was dropping 50 after the first quarter. So,
but speaking of washing each other off the court, though, we looked away from points though between these two. Kevin Durant,
like efficiency,
plus 20. Jason Tatum, a minus 33 tonight. A minus.
Oh 30. Lordy.
Largest lead was 29 tonight, the Nets. So Jason Tatum was a minus 33 when he was out there.
Yeah.
Yikes.
It was one of the worst games that Jason Tatum has played. Although we might have to go back into the season and see his worst games, because I think that one chalks up as like his third worst this season so far.
Might be like his fourth. I don't know. Like at least he got.
I don't know.
At least he grabbed 8 rebounds and made it to the free throw line, and he missed 2 free throws.
Yeah.
1 of
and
9
5 turnovers doesn't help either.
5 turnovers, 4 of 16 in 30 minutes. Yeah, this might be. I don't know. It's either top.
It wasn't
3.
his worst game, but it was definitely in the top 3 in my opinion. I think it might be 3, just because of the thing too. Also, I think we do have to shout out Enes Kanter. And in the first quarter, Enes Kanter looked really, really good in the really, really limited minutes that he had. I think he finished with 7 minutes in this game, but in the first quarter, I mean, he kind of kept us in it somewhat in the first quarter. He had a pretty cool and one. He blocked the crap out of Harden, and then he blocked Cam Thomas at the end of the first quarter too. So that was pretty fun to watch Enes Kanter do pretty well.
That
Also, Peyton Pritchard finally hit a shot. That's somewhat encouraging too.
1 of 2, 50% tonight. Very efficient.
That's the best he's gotten all season, it feels like. So,
but back to Enes Kanter for a second, though. This Enes Kanter run in the first quarter that we saw tonight totally reminded me of Game 3 last year with Tristan Thompson. It was like Enes Kanter came in,
definitely
rebounds, had a couple of putbacks, and the crowd was under him. And you're thinking for a second, you're like, oh, so it's Enes Kanter who's getting us back into this game tonight, having us pull out the win against the Nets. It didn't quite play out like that, but that was the vibe early on in this game. And also, actually, give another shout out, Romeo Langford. I thought Romeo Langford was tremendous offensively tonight, and he played a little bit of part in why Kevin Durant only had 21 points. I thought during his match with Durant, he was very good on ball, and I think he had that block of Kevin Durant at the rim. They said he missed it, but no, it was a Romeo Langford block, and he was not afraid to go toe to toe with him tonight. And that's really what you want to see out of Langford moving forward, especially with all the narrative that's surrounded him coming into the season. Is he going to have enough confidence? Is he going to, play enough to where he's going to carve himself out a consistent role? Because this is his third season already, and it's almost like his rookie year. And I thought Romeo Langford was tremendous tonight. So I guess that's the silver lining in tonight's game. Romeo, Kanter, and a little bit of the fourth quarter. Three bullet points there.
All right, well, at least we could find something. Boycott the ESPN broadcasting Celtics games. Oh Lord, are we going to get into another ESPN rant? I know we're kind of known for ranting on ESPN. I will say I don't think they were obnoxious as they were with the Lakers game, because at least in this game they talked a little bit about the Celtics. I mean, last game against the Lakers, all they talked about was LeBron. So I mean. Oh, yeah, I want to talk about that halftime show because I watched it on the live stream that I did on TikTok. All I could think of was, first of all, they had Kyrie Irving in the backdrop of the halftime show, and he wasn't even playing. They had Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving instead of Kevin Durant and Jason Tatum, first of all.
Or
second
James
of all,
Harden, like the other star on their team.
Exactly. Second of all, the only thing they said about the Celtics, and this was Stephen A. Smith, he's like, oh, I mean, we can't really take the Celtics that seriously. Jaylen Brown is injured, and they've been one of the best defensive teams over the last few games. But let's talk about how bad James Harden has been. Kyrie Irving, you should be there to help Kevin Durant. Oh, my goodness. I mean, goddamn. I mean, Jesus Christ. And then all they did was shit on James Harden for the entire halftime show.
I know. It was so confusing, too, because they had a 13-point lead. I was just sitting there like, I don't think a team has ever had a 13-point lead at halftime and been this trashed on national TV. It's just absolutely insane. And it was James Harden, and it was, again, Stephen A. and Jalen Rose. They were sitting there going back and forth. Well, I don't think they beat the Heat right now. I don't think they beat the Bucks right now. I'm like, they have injuries too, man. Their injuries, I thought, were probably, I don't know. Robert Williams is a big part of our team, but it seemed like their injuries were going to impact them more than us tonight. And for some reason, they mentioned our injuries, didn't mention their injuries. This is almost like we're defending the Nets right now situation. But the ESPN, what is this coverage? I don't understand. The equality is gone.
I mean, do you really expect anything else from ESPN, though? Like, I mean, can we really expect anything outside of that from ESPN? In my opinion, not really. Because, like, I don't know.
I don't know what their angle is. Is my whole thing is like, I don't know their angle sometimes with the Nets, specifically Stephen A. Smith. And I know Stephen A. has turned into, clickbait man completely, and he's completely used for clickbait. And I respect Stephen A. Smith, and he had to do a lot to get to his position now where he's making nearly $10 million a year. But Stephen A. Smith has become a non-sports analyst. He's become a narrative analyst, and he just comes up with narratives to bring on the show. And I don't understand why they exactly take this approach with the Brooklyn Nets, because they love the Knicks, they like Lakers, they I would say they somewhat love the Clippers as well, although they're probably a little bit more bullish on the Lakers. But the Nets, they absolutely hate. It's like, why? You cover them all the time, but you hate them. It doesn't make any sense. It's a bad combination, and it's a bad thing to put on TV when you're covering a team all the time and all you're doing is shitting on them. Just my take on it. It's weird.
Yeah, it really is weird because like they really were James Harden had he had 7 points and 5 assists at halftime. Like, even though he wasn't shooting well, he was doing more in the game than just shooting. It's not like he didn't do anything.
He had 11 assists.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know, man. It's not like ESPN is going to go out and cover the Celtics anyway, so I don't really know why we're making such a big deal out of it. Plus, they get paid, or at least Stephen A, in our opinion. I mean, he gets paid $10 million, and we're two broke, people sitting here talking about
we see, you're getting good analysis because we're not being paid. We're not being controlled by Disney on what we say, but every single word that comes out of our mouth. We're sitting here, we're doing it for the love of the Celtics, the love of basketball. These people are not driving narratives. It's the unfortunate part of media nowadays, but it is what it is.
I will say, though, and I know we're kind of going on a rant about ESPN, but did you watch the clip of when Stephen A. Smith was talking about the LeBron James and Isaiah Stewart fight, and he had JJ Redick on there, and he was talking about people don't fear LeBron James anymore, or stuff like that, and JJ Redick just absolutely schooled him on his own show, which was kind of hilarious to me in the first place. And I don't know, it's just I guess I don't understand what ESPN is trying to talk about anymore, in my opinion. I don't know. I mean, we can literally have an entire show about how much we hate ESPN and all the problems with it. But we are still the Celtics Talk Weekly.
No,
any final thoughts, Seamus, before we go home?
Tonight's game, for as bad as it was, I'm not too upset over it. I mean, I kind of expected, when I said our next 7 games, there's a reason I didn't include our next 8 games, because I had no idea what was going to happen against this Nets. Unfortunately, we were blown out. We went down by nearly 30 tonight, but no Robert Williams, no Josh Richardson. I would say Jaylen Brown is still not healthy, despite him saying he post-game presser now, just coming on my screen. He wasn't healthy, Jaylen Brown, and we have 3 more matchups against this Nets team, and it's only November. This is a regular NBA season now. There's 82 games. There's 62 more left for the Celtics, or 63, or whatever it is now. The Celtics have a lot of chances to get this thing right, to get it going again, to find their rhythm again. We saw it the last 2 weeks before leading into this matchup, and I believe we'll see it again with this team. This team is too talented. We've said this multiple times. This team is too talented to be a bottom feeder team or I would say it's almost too talented to be a play-in team coming into the season, but as we know, injuries happen. Some guys maybe don't fit together, and I'm not going to go far into that, but we'll see where this team goes. I think we're on the right track still, even after this game, but tonight it was slightly disappointing, but not too crazy.
Yeah. Justin, any final notes you want to run across the screen before we head out? No more Tony Brothers. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, no more Tony Brothers either. Oh, if we see him in the playoffs, it's officially just rigged. Come on. Game 6.
Yeah, we need to start hiring some younger referees because they have better eyesight and can see a lot better. But
seniority. These old dudes keep their job for 40 years.
That's the same thing with the MLB and other stuff. But before we go into another tirade against the referees, thank you everyone for watching. I know this was kind of a weird, technical difficulty filled show tonight, but we do appreciate you guys watching. We will be here on Friday to cover the Celtics versus the Spurs, and happy Thanksgiving, everyone. I hope you guys enjoy it tomorrow. Hope you guys sit back, eat some ham, because turkey, I think, is overrated in my opinion, and watch some football. So,
Lions plus 3 tomorrow. Hit it. They're winning their first game on Thanksgiving. It's in the cards. No more Matt Nagy. Lions +3. Let's hit it. Go.
All right. Finally,
Do this.
I know Rob. Rob does this a lot better. Rob does this a lot better than I do. But follow us on social media. That's Seamus. I'm Ian. Justin scrolling across the screen. Rob on the phone. Thank you guys for watching. Have a great night. Happy Thanksgiving, everyone.